It's very important that our management protocols respond to the daily needs of our animals as individuals, as well as their species-specific requirements, and research helps us do that. Through conducting research studies, we can see what works and what doesn't work for all our animals, and then actively implement this into their animal care plans. And in this way, we can ensure that they thrive under our care. We're currently conducting a study on red wolf care practices across the country. The red wolf is actually one of the world's most endangered wolves, although it used to be quite common in Eastern and Northern America. And the goal of this study is to identify the best techniques for feeding and housing and taking care of these wolves so that we can improve their welfare and ensure that the species thrives. Research projects can vary in length, but typically in science, the more data you can collect, the better. Our projects tend to range from 3 months to a year to 10 years. It just depends on what you're looking at and what your questions are. So far, I think our elephants have had a lot of studies done on them. They're very fun to watch and they're cool animals. But we try to make sure that every animal gets the right amount of attention that they need so that we can optimize their management protocols. I don't like to play favorites, but my PhD was on olive baboons in Kenya, so I'm more emotionally connected to primates, and I just love spending time watching them. So my bachelor's was in biological anthropology with a focus on primates, and then I went on to get my master's and PhD, again in biological anthropology, but again focusing on animal behavior and kinship systems. Ooh, good question. So let's start with the converse. The easiest animal to study are those that are terrestrial or on the ground and move slowly. So you can just sit and watch them and record their behaviors. The hardest to study are probably arboreal animals or animals that live in the trees, like our birds, and move really quickly. So you have to run around to collect all their data and behaviors, or shy nocturnal species who don't come out much. Best question. Hammy is now 5 months old. Time really flies when you're on the wrong end of puppy teething. So a research project can really be divided up into 5 parts. It's just following the scientific method, where first you observe a behavior, and then you formulate a hypothesis or a question that you want to test on that animal. Next, you go out into the field, or in my case, you go into the zoo, and you observe the animals and collect data on how they're spending their day, or whatever relevant information you need to answer your hypothesis or test question. Then you take all your data back to your office and you sit at your computer and conduct lots of statistical analyses to understand the trends of what you observed and the data you collected. Then finally, the most important part of my job comes into play, where I meet with the relevant care teams and we make sure that we optimize the management protocols to meet the needs of that animal. Great question. Probably primates. I'm a little biased. Before joining the North Carolina Zoo, I worked with the Myanmar Timber Elephant Project, where we explored health and fertility in Asian elephants. Yes, I would love to be your best friend, but I'm only best friends with people who know a lot about tarantulas. So speaking of that, check out our very own Leslie Wilholt on our YouTube channel, Zoo Classroom, Smelling Tarantulas. So my job doesn't entail actively engaging with the animals. I stand with the public on the other side of the glass, but I just observe the animals and record all of their daily behaviors for whatever question we're trying to answer. I truly love that I feel like my work is not just helping these individual animals that we've come to know and love at the zoo, but that it's actually promoting an understanding and appreciation of wildlife. Oh boy, yeah, it's true. I did spend some time in New Jersey, but I'm from New York. So New Jersey could rank second best state, maybe? So the North Carolina Zoo doesn't directly conduct research in the Arctic, but we do send staff there to support ongoing research with Polar Bear International, which studies the effects of climate change on wild polar bear populations. This was fun. Thank you for all your questions, and don't forget to tune in next week to speak with another zoo expert.